Yeah. So how much time do you get to prepare for a film?
Sometimes only a couple weeks, and sometimes a couple months. So it all depends on how early they bring you on, and sometimes they get pushed, and then you get a little extra time, which is sometimes nice. Um, Sometimes you're just brought on right away, and you're just like right into it. So.
And discuss some of the challenges in your department. I'm sure the deadline pressure of getting everything done quickly is one of them. What else do you have to deal with that's pretty intense?
Knowing how to sew is, I would say, real critical for anybody in the wardrobe department. Knowing how things go together, because you're dealing with costumes. You're running into all kinds of emergencies a lot. So, and if you can get yourself out of those, then you're on the top of your game. So.
Where do you spend most of your time? Is it actually creating the designs or the construction of the material and picking fabrics and colors and buttons and all that?
I would say a lot, just the whole creation of it. We're either shopping it, we're pulling for it. Then we have a lot of fittings to get the right things together. Sometimes they happen real fast and we're on to one outfit real quickly. Sometimes you're just searching and searching for the right costume. It depends on the character. But I'd say there's just, I don't know if there's any one whole time. A lot of it's breaking down the script and then dealing with all the script changes all the time too. So that each film's different. Sometimes that can really get you.
Well, how competitive is it? You know, there's a lot of people fighting to be in show business. Is it tough to get work?
Yeah, it's tough to get work. It's all it's again relationships and working with the same team a lot. I think for a newcomer coming in, it's just getting on it. Well, you've got to start kind of doing the simpler stuff and just working your way and getting in with a team that's going to be actually doing more and more projects. So if you're good, you keep moving on. So, but it's tough. A lot of people want to do it. So.
Have you ever worked on a project where you had an actor that you had to dress and they just didn't like your designs or the costume? What happens then, and how do you deal with it?
Call the director. I had that happen with a 1980s film I was working on, and the jeans back then were really high-waisted, and this actress just couldn't get over. She wasn't around in the 80s. She couldn't get over wearing these funny jeans. So I know she really fought me on that. And she won, but we ended up having her, and the director was like just wanting to keep the peace, but we ended up just having her in some jeans that, like a faded jean, and having her sit the most of the time, so you couldn't tell how they were fitting and stuff. So, but she loved the low-waisted jeans, but.
But those weren't around in the 80s.
No, right. So, and a lot of times the period pieces, a lot of the actors love those because they get to wear all this, but the 80s weren't so pretty, so they were in their own way, but they, because they would say, well, the decade there's, it says what they wore, so they wear that, but the 80s is a tough one. I'm actually going on to an 80s film soon, so it's going to be challenging.
The jeans will be back.
I can't wait.
Next up, Shawnelle has advice for those of you who are planning a career in costume design. Below the Line continues right after this. All of us at Below the Line with George Peroulas thank you for your continued support of this program.
Happy Thanksgiving!
You're watching Below the Line. With me is Shawnelle Cherry, costume designer. Now, Shawnelle, you've worked with so many of Hollywood greats, including Dennis Hopper, Peter Bogdanovich, Mindy Sterling, Joey Pantoliano, Joey Pants as they call him, Michael Madsen, Connie Britton, just to name a few. Who was one of your favorites that you've worked with?
I'd say one of my favorites was Chaz Palminteri. I worked on a movie with him called The Dukes, and he's just he's a great guy. Just a great actor, funny, personable. Didn't hassle me with the dressing. Make fun of him, he'd be fun.
Now, what is one of your favorite projects that you worked on?
I would say it was Without a Paddle, Nature's Calling, famous productions, and one of my favorites because we shot it in Oregon, and the actors were a dream. Just cooperative and funny and spirited. We got to do, I had girls that lived in a tree. We called them eco warriors. And so we got to do very organic clothes and got to shop fabrics a lot and actually make almost everything, pretty much everything they wore. Just great crew, great actors, and I think one of my favorites.
For several years. What would you tell the new designer? What would you tell them to do or not do, and advice for them?
I would try and work under a designer as an assistant. I kind of went a different road because I had a whole fashion design background, and I started out just as the costume designer. And looking back, I would have liked to, and I did try to work under a designer and be an assistant and really learn the ropes. So I had to learn a lot, just kind of figuring it all out myself. I'd start on some student films, working just in the costume, department there, and getting a feel for it, and then being out networking a lot with all the people that work in the film industry and seeing what they're doing next, and just having, Hollywood's a small town. I'm sure it's small in the rest of the country. Having a lot of integrity and being good for your word, because that spreads around pretty fast. If you say you can do something and you don't do it, that becomes your
reputation.
People see you, your reputation. And just gotta love it, and then just keep your training up. Learn knowing fabrics inside and out, know where the resources are, especially in the costume thing, what store you can get this at, what store you can get that at. If you needed to get silk screening done right away, who would you go to? Get your file folder filled up with, and have contacts in those businesses. Know the people, go in and meet them, and know what they can do for you.
What do you have coming up next?
I am on a show called 10,000 Days. We are shooting in LA, and it's a digital series back to the Ice Age, and it's a series going to keep going on, so I'll be going back and doing more.
Well, thank you so much. Good luck on
You're
that
welcome.
project, and keep us posted on all great things Shawnelle Cherry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Below the Line wraps up right after this. Thanks again to my guests, Ginger Knussman and Shawnelle Cherry, and thank you for watching. Feel free to contact us by sending us an email to belowtheline21@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. And don't forget to join our fan page on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
For more information, comments, or questions about the show, email us at belowtheline21@gmail.com.